For 30 years, I carried around a belief I thought was truth. I didn't question it. I didn't challenge it. It was just there, baked into my thinking, woven into my conversations, shaping how I saw the world. I had made up my mind about Muslims. I didn't know any personally. I'd never sat down with one, never shared a meal, never asked a single question, but I had 1,000 opinions. Isn't it something how easy it is to hate what we don't understand? You couldn't have convinced me back then that I was wrong. I thought I was being cautious. I thought I was being wise. But the truth is, I was being led by fear, not faith. I judged an entire group of people based on headlines, based on stereotypes, based on shadows, not substance. My heart was closed. And when your heart is closed, you miss the beauty of people. You miss the fingerprints of God in lives that look different from yours. And then came the day I couldn't run anymore. It was supposed to be an ordinary day. Nothing unusual, just another drive, another errand. But in a split second, everything changed. The car spun, the crash hit. And I found myself on the side of the road, bleeding, dazed, and alone. Cars passed by, people glanced and kept driving. Minutes felt like hours. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is how it ends. But then, out of nowhere, someone stopped. A man jumped out of his car, ran toward me, his face full of urgency and concern. He called for help. He stayed with me. He held my hand as I slipped in and out of consciousness. I was barely able to speak, but I caught a glimpse of his clothing, heard the tone in his voice, and realized he was a Muslim. At that moment, something broke inside of me. All those years I had lived in opposition to people like him, and now here he was, kneeling in the dirt beside me, saving my life. He didn't ask what I believed. He didn't check if I had ever spoken against his faith. He didn't care about my politics, my opinions, or my past. He just saw a person in need, and he responded with love. God has a way of humbling us at the exact moment we need it most. He could have used anyone to help me that day, but He chose someone I had spent a lifetime pushing away. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a divine correction. That was heaven saying, you don't get to write people off just because you don't understand them. You don't get to close your heart when I'm trying to open your eyes. Lying there in that stranger's care, I began to see more clearly than I ever had. I realized the problem wasn't with him. The problem had been with me. I had let fear become my teacher. I had let pain from other places stain how I saw people who had never hurt me. I had accepted lies without ever seeking truth. And now the very person I had judged became the person who showed me what compassion truly looks like. It's easy to love people who look like us, talk like us, believe like us, but real growth happens when we embrace those who are different. Real healing comes when we stop asking who's right and start asking who needs love. The man who helped me didn't need my approval to act in kindness. He didn't need my acceptance to do what was right. He was led by something higher, something pure. And I saw it that day, not in theory, but in action. What you judge the harshest may be what heals you the deepest. Sometimes God allows our world to fall apart just to show us who's really willing to help us put it back together. And more often than not, it won't be the people we expected. It won't be the ones we imagined. It'll be the ones we never thought twice about. That experience didn't just save my body, it saved my heart. It tore down 30 years of walls in one powerful encounter. And now, I don't walk around with assumptions. I walk around with awe. I don't cling to prejudice. I lean into possibility. Because now I know every person is a story. Every soul is a mystery. And sometimes the hands you reject are the very ones God will use to lift you up. You may think you have people figured out. You may think you know who's for you and who's against you, but be careful, because God doesn't see through your lens. He sees the heart. He sees the motive. He sees what we cannot. And the one you overlook could be the one carrying your blessing. Don't miss your miracle, because it shows up in an unfamiliar package. Don't let the labels of this world rob you of the love God wants to show you. He's bigger than our boundaries. He's beyond our categories. And when we let Him guide our hearts, we stop judging and we start healing. I used to see the world in categories, us and them, right and wrong, safe and dangerous. I thought if I could label people quickly, I could protect myself. It felt easier to box people in than to risk understanding them. But the truth is, labels build walls and love builds bridges. And one day when I was at my lowest, love came running through the very wall I had spent years building. That man who saved my life, he didn't know my past. He didn't know the hate I had harbored toward people like him. He didn't know that if the roles had been reversed, I might have walked right past him. He didn't ask questions. He didn't hesitate. He saw a need and stepped in, not because he knew my story, but because love doesn't wait for background checks. Love just moves. I remember lying there bleeding and broken, and this stranger holding my hand saying, "You're going to be okay." He didn't sound like me. He didn't look like me. But in that moment, he felt like family. That's when it hit me. Love speaks every language. It wears every color. It prays in different ways, but carries the same compassion. Love doesn't need permission to act. It just shows up. When I asked him later why he helped, his answer shattered the walls I had built around my heart. He said, "Because my faith teaches me to help anyone in need. It doesn't matter who they are." That shook me to my core. For years, I had assumed the worst about people like him, but here he was, living out a kind of love I claimed to believe in, but rarely practiced. Love is not just a feeling, it's a force. It doesn't stop at borders. It doesn't bow to prejudice. It doesn't require sameness. It thrives in difference. Real love reaches across the divide. Real love ignores the labels. Real love says, "I don't have to agree with you to stand by you. I don't have to understand everything about you to care when you're hurting." I had spent years thinking love belonged to people like me. I thought compassion was reserved for my circle, my beliefs, my community. But love doesn't need a passport. It doesn't check theology before offering a helping hand. And that man, with every step he took toward me, proved that love is louder than any label the world tries to stick on us. That moment changed me forever. It taught me that the enemy isn't a person. It's the hate we let live inside us. The real danger isn't someone who believes differently. It's the fear that keeps us from seeing their humanity. And when we silence fear, we can finally hear the voice of love calling us to higher ground. You can't love well if you're busy labeling people. You can't heal if you're too busy judging. You can't hear God clearly when your heart is full of noise from division and suspicion. But when you let love in, real love, everything changes. Your heart softens, your eyes open, you stop seeing strangers and start seeing brothers and sisters. I learned that love requires courage. It takes strength to reach across the line. But every time we choose love over labels, we make room for something greater than ourselves. We make room for unity. We make room for healing. We make room for God to move in ways we never imagined. The truth is, the man who saved my life didn't just help me physically. He helped deliver me from a lifetime of fear and falsehood. His one act of love rewrote 30 years of belief. He didn't need to argue with me. He didn't need to prove a point. He just lived his truth, and that truth broke through every lie I had been living under. Now, I live differently. I listen more. I judge less. I don't let labels tell me who to love, who to trust, or who to fear, because I know better now. I've seen love in action. I've heard it in the voice of someone I once misunderstood. And once you experience that kind of love, you can't go back. You won't go back, because now you know love is louder. Sometimes God will use the very thing you tried to avoid to bring the healing you've been praying for. He doesn't always send truth in the package you expect. It won't always show up wearing a cross, speaking your language, or standing on your side of the conversation. No, often God will place your breakthrough in the hands of someone you were taught to fear. He'll tuck His wisdom inside the one you overlooked, because that's how He humbles us. That's how He expands our vision and breaks the chains of small thinking. For 30 years, I thought I had people figured out. I was convinced I knew who I could trust and who I couldn't. I labeled entire groups of people based on hearsay, history, and headlines. I didn't leave room for nuance. I didn't pause to ask questions. I just shut the door and walked the other way. And the whole time, I didn't realize I was walking away from one of the greatest revelations of my life. See, God doesn't ask for your opinion before choosing who will help you. He doesn't ask for your background check before deciding who will be the vessel for your transformation. That's not how He operates. His ways are higher. His perspective is wider. And when He wants to grow you, He doesn't send comfort. He sends contradiction. He brings you face to face with the people you once wrote off, because He knows that's where your heart still needs healing. I didn't know I was still carrying hate. I thought I had just formed strong convictions. But hate can disguise itself in logic. Fear can dress up like wisdom. You can feel justified in closing your heart and still be completely wrong. And so when I found myself broken on the side of that road, when I was bleeding and helpless, God didn't send someone who looked like me to rescue me. He sent someone I had spent a lifetime avoiding, a Muslim man. A stranger, someone I had lumped into a category without a second thought. But in that moment, he didn't act like a stranger. He acted like a brother. He ran to me when others drove past. He called for help. He stayed by my side. And when I opened my eyes and saw him praying quietly beside me, not for recognition, not for reward, but because his faith led him there, something shattered inside of me. The pride I had been carrying for decades crumbled in one act of compassion. The prejudice I had never questioned was exposed under the weight of His love. I realized right then this man was living his truth while I was still hiding behind mine. I was the one who needed saving, and not just from injury, but from ignorance. God used the unlikely to uncover the truth I never would have found on my own. This wasn't just about a rescue, it was about a revelation. God was showing me, you thought you knew how I work. You thought you knew who I use. But I don't operate inside your categories. I don't check your labels before I move. I speak through hearts that are open, lives that are surrendered, and people who carry my spirit, no matter what name you've given them. God will offend your mind to heal your heart. He will send truth dressed in a form your ego will want to reject. Because He's not trying to make you comfortable. He's trying to make you clean. He's trying to uproot the pride that's blocking your perspective. He's trying to tear down the walls that are keeping you from experiencing the fullness of His love. And if you're not careful, you'll miss it. You'll dismiss the very person carrying your miracle. You'll walk past the truth because it didn't arrive in your preferred language. But God isn't bound by our systems. He speaks through love, He moves through mercy, and He shows up through people we would have never chosen, but who were chosen by Him. The one who saved me didn't just rescue my body, He rescued my beliefs. He opened a door in my heart that had been locked for years. And through that door, light came flooding in. I saw people differently. I saw God differently. I saw myself differently. I had been blind, but now I could see. And what I saw was a truth that had always been there. I had just been too proud to receive it. Maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you've drawn your lines. You've made your judgments. You've told yourself, I know what's true. But could it be that God wants to reveal more to you? Could it be that He's about to use someone unexpected to change your life? Are you willing to let the unlikely uncover the truth inside you? Because here's what I've learned. Truth doesn't always arrive in a way that makes you feel good. It arrives to make you better. It cuts, it convicts, it heals. And when it comes through someone you once disregarded, that's when you know God's hand is all over it. He's not playing by your rules. He's rewriting your heart. So now, I don't walk around so sure of who God will use. I walk around expecting Him to use the unlikely. I look for Him in the eyes of people I once ignored. I listen for Him in the voices I used to mute, because now I know sometimes the most unexpected person is the one who carries the greatest truth for your life. Don't miss your moment, because it doesn't look like what you imagined. Don't walk away from a blessing because it comes through someone you weren't prepared to receive. Let your heart be open. Let your spirit be teachable, because God is still speaking. And sometimes He chooses the unlikely just to prove that love, truth, and grace don't need permission to shine.